There's a certain comfort in routine, a predictability that soothes the nerves in a chaotic world. My routine was simple, almost mechanical: pick up my 4-year-old daughter, Emma, from school and treat her to a meal at McDonald's every Friday. She loved it, of course. What child doesn't adore nuggets and fries? For me, it was a brief respite, a day where I didn't have to cook, a small slice of indulgence amidst the monotony of the week. The McDonald's we frequented sat on a bustling corner of the city, surrounded by the hum of rush-hour traffic and the clamor of after-school activity. It wasn't the kind of place you'd associate with danger, a nice area, busy but not chaotic, filled with the mundane hustle of everyday life. But as I'd soon learn, even the most innocuous places can harbor shadows. It was a typical Friday. I ordered our usual, a Happy Meal for Emma and a burger for myself. The drive-through line was moderately busy, and I wasn't in a rush. After paying, the employee at the window politely asked me to pull into one of the designated waiting spots while they prepared our order. I obliged, maneuvering my truck into an angled parking spot near the entrance. I usually backed into spaces, a habit born of paranoia and a desire for quick exits. But this time, I didn't. It felt unnecessary. The parking lot was calm, the sun high in the sky, and everything seemed perfectly ordinary. As Emma babbled happily in the back seat, I noticed a car pulling into the lot. It was a small, nondescript vehicle, nothing that would catch your eye. What did catch my attention, however, was its choice of parking. The car slid into the spot directly beside us, the drive-through waiting area, despite not having placed an order. Odd, but not alarming. 2 men were inside, a driver who stayed put and a passenger who stepped out. The man walked around the front of their car, his movements deliberate but not hurried. My stomach tightened as he approached my truck, heading straight for the rear passenger door, the one nearest Emma. He reached for the handle and tugged. Once. Twice. The door didn't budge. It was locked. Thank God, it was locked. Realizing he couldn't open it, the man hesitated for a moment, then turned and walked back to his car. He muttered something to the driver, shrugged, and got back inside. Before I could fully process what had just happened, they pulled out of the parking lot and disappeared into traffic, leaving behind only the faint smell of exhaust and a heart pounding in my chest. As the car vanished into the stream of vehicles, I sat frozen, my hands gripping the steering wheel like a lifeline. My mind raced through the possibilities, each one more terrifying than the last. Was it an attempted kidnapping? A robbery? Or something worse? The thought of what could have happened left me shaken to my core. I turned around to look at Emma. She was blissfully unaware, still humming a tune from one of her favorite cartoons, her small hands cradling a stuffed bunny. The innocence in her smile was both a relief and a stark reminder of what I might have lost. I couldn't just let it go. Not this time. My instincts screamed at me to act, to ensure this would never happen again. Grabbing my phone, I dialed 911, my fingers trembling. As I explained the situation to the dispatcher, I felt a surge of resolve. Every detail was etched in my mind: the make and model of the car, its faded blue paint, the partial license plate I'd managed to glimpse. The dispatcher assured me an officer would be sent to the area immediately and took down all the information I could provide. Hanging up, I glanced around the parking lot. Families coming and going, kids laughing, the smell of fried food wafting through the air, it all felt surreal. How could something so sinister attempt to invade such a normal scene? My paranoia surged, and I found myself scanning every face, every movement, searching for signs of hidden danger. I'd always considered myself cautious, but this incident made me re-evaluate everything. My truck's automatic locks had saved us this time, but what if they hadn't? What if I'd forgotten? The thought was unbearable. From that day forward, I made it a point never to leave anything to chance. My first move was upgrading my vehicle's security: better locks, tinted windows, and even a small dash camera to record everything. At home, I became hyper-vigilant. I started researching personal safety strategies, reading forums and watching videos on how to handle potential threats. My paranoia became a tool, an ally. I taught Emma basic safety drills in a way that felt like a game. If Mommy says freeze, what do we do? I'd ask, and she'd giggle before responding. We stop and stay still like statues. It became our little routine, a layer of protection I hoped we'd never need. That day changed me, reshaped how I viewed the world and my role as a parent. The ordinary had become a potential battleground, and I was determined never to let my guard down again. The officers arrived within 20 minutes. Their presence, 2 cruisers pulling into the lot with lights flashing, sent a ripple through the unsuspecting patrons at McDonald's. I waved them down and quickly recounted everything: the suspicious car, the 2 men, the attempt to open my truck's door. My voice wavered as I spoke, but I forced myself to stay calm and focused. One of the officers, a stocky man with a no-nonsense demeanor, took notes while the other, a younger woman with a kind but serious expression, asked clarifying questions. You mentioned a partial license plate. Do you remember the letters or numbers? She asked. I closed my eyes, visualizing the faded blue car as it sped away. I think it started with an A, maybe a 6? And it was dirty, so I couldn't see all of it clearly. But there were definitely 3 more numbers or letters. She nodded. That helps. Any distinguishing features about the men? The one who got out, I began, was about average height, wearing a dark hoodie and jeans. I think he had a beard. The driver stayed in the car the whole time, so I didn't get a good look at him. The officers exchanged a glance. We'll check the cameras, the male officer said, gesturing toward the parking lot's security system. It might take a while to pull footage, but it should give us a better idea of what we're dealing with. After the officers left, I sat in my truck, feeling a strange mix of relief and unease. The reality of what had almost happened weighed heavily on me. Emma, still cheerful and oblivious, chirped from the back seat, "Can we eat now, Mommy?" Her innocent question snapped me out of my thoughts. "Of course, sweetheart," I said, mustering a smile. But even as I handed her the happy meal, my mind remained clouded. What if the men had succeeded? What if I hadn't locked the doors? The scenarios played out in my head like a grim movie reel, each one worse than the last. I resolved not to let fear paralyze me. Instead, I would let it fuel my determination to stay vigilant and protect my daughter at all costs. Later that evening, I received a follow-up call from the police. The footage confirmed my story: 2 men in a compact blue car, one attempting to open my door before retreating. Unfortunately, the license plate was too obscured to provide a clear lead. "We'll keep an eye out," the officer assured me. It wasn't the resolution I'd hoped for, but it was something. For now, all I could do was hold Emma close and promise myself that I would never take her safety for granted again. The following days were a blur of anxiety and self-reflection. I found myself replaying the incident over and over, dissecting every second, every decision. What could I have done differently? How could I ensure this would never happen again? The questions haunted me, but they also drove me to take action. I began by reaching out to friends and neighbors, sharing my story not to scare them but to make them aware. To my surprise, many of them admitted to having their own close calls, situations where something didn't feel right, or a stranger lingered too long, or an interaction left them uneasy. It was both comforting and disheartening to realize how common these experiences were. One of my neighbors, Lisa, recommended a self-defense class she had taken a few months earlier. "It's empowering," she said, "and it'll give you some peace of mind." Intrigued, I signed up for the next available session. The first class was intimidating. The instructor, a former police officer named Mike, wasted no time drilling us on situational awareness. "Most of the battle is recognizing a threat before it becomes a danger," he said, pacing the room. "Always trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is." Over the weeks, I learned how to defend myself in various scenarios, how to break free from holds, and even how to use everyday objects as improvised weapons. The training was grueling but cathartic. For the first time since the incident, I felt a sense of control returning to my life. The self-defense training was just the beginning. I started implementing changes in my daily routine to prioritize safety. I always parked in well-lit areas, kept my phone fully charged, and carried a small personal alarm. I even installed a GPS tracker in Emma's backpack, just in case. These measures might have seemed excessive to some, but to me, they were necessary. Emma, too, became a part of my safety plan. I taught her to memorize my phone number and address, how to call 911, and what to do if we ever got separated. We practiced these drills until they became second nature. It's like a superhero mission, I told her, making it feel less scary and more empowering. As weeks turned into months, I noticed a shift in my mindset. The fear that had once paralyzed me now served as a motivator. I wasn't just reacting to the world around me, I was preparing for it. My vigilance became second nature, not just for Emma's sake but for mine as well. Despite the lingering uncertainty about the men's intentions, I refused to let the incident define us. Life went on, and so did we. But I carried the lessons of that day with me, a reminder of the fragility of safety and the strength required to protect it. Months passed, and life gradually returned to a semblance of normalcy. Yet, the memory of that afternoon at McDonald's remained vivid in my mind. Every now and then, I'd catch myself looking over my shoulder or double-checking that my doors were locked, small habits that had become part of my routine. It wasn't paranoia, it was preparedness, a subtle but significant difference. Emma, thankfully, remained unscathed by the experience. Her world was still one of cartoons, playgrounds, and bedtime stories. I'd done everything in my power to shield her from the weight of what had happened, and seeing her carefree smile assured me I'd succeeded. She often asked why I was more cautious now, and I explained it in terms she could understand. "Mommy just wants to keep us extra safe," I'd say, and she'd nod with the innocent acceptance only a child could muster. The police followed up occasionally, though no new leads ever emerged. The men in the faded blue car became a ghost story in my mind, a chilling reminder of how quickly life could change. Despite the lack of resolution, I found peace in knowing I had done everything within my power to protect my daughter and that I had grown stronger because of it. Looking back, that day taught me more than I ever expected. It wasn't just about the importance of locking doors or being vigilant in public spaces. It was about the strength of a mother's instincts and the lengths we go to for those we love. It was about resilience, the ability to face fear and come out the other side, not unscathed, but unbroken. I became an advocate for awareness in my community, sharing my story with local parent groups and even speaking at a safety seminar hosted by the police department. It's not about living in fear, I told the audience, but about being prepared and proactive. We can't control everything, but we can control how we respond. As for Emma and me, we continued to build our lives with an unshakable bond forged through trust and love. I knew I couldn't shield her from every danger in the world, but I could equip her with the tools and confidence to navigate it. And in doing so, I found my own strength. That day at McDonald's was a turning point, a moment that could have ended in tragedy but instead became a testament to resilience. Life went on, and so did we, stronger, wiser, and more prepared for whatever might come our way.